what's going on, all my freaks and geeks out there? We are the Square Round Table. I want to start off by thanking everybody who tuned in last week to our radio show on power214.com and everybody that tuned in to our YouTube show under the same name, the Square Round Table. We really appreciate all the love, guys. Thank you for being on this journey with us. And yeah, just keep moving along forward with us. We appreciate everything. And yeah, my name is Chad Singleton, and go ahead and introduce yourselves, guys.
Hey,
I'm Josh Singleton.
No, Marcus, old Marcus Mark.
Yes. And today, guys, is a very special podcast. We're doing something a little different today. We have a couple of awesome ladies with us. They are the 17-time award-winning chalk artists, Miss Lexi and Miss Devon, aka the Chalk Twins. Let's give it up for them, guys.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Of course. The pleasure is like all ours. Like, this is such an amazing situation. We really thank you guys for coming out. Like, it means a lot to us, definitely. So but yeah, so just jumping right into it. Most of us here on the Square Round Table, we're all artists, and we've worked with different mediums, and there's just so many out there. Like I like graphite, and I know Joshua, he does, digital art, but for me, I found that working with chalk is so difficult. Like it's really messy. It gets everywhere. You can easily smudge it. I just really want to know, how did you guys like gravitate towards that medium? Like what made you want to use chalk?
Yeah, it's definitely an unusual medium. But that being said, you guys have all, at least done a little bit of art, and so I feel like one of the most common themes in art classes is chalk pastels. Yes. So that's true. I think everyone has held a stick before. Everyone's played on the concrete. Yeah. So
at least once or twice, yeah.
Exactly. So while it's like unusual to like become professional in it, I guess nowadays, everyone has used it. So that's the great thing about the medium, is that it is so accessible. So we actually started because in Florida, where we are, there's lots of street art festivals, chalk art festivals, and they actually always had high school categories. So while we were in high school, our art teacher entered us in, and we did a competition, and actually ended up winning the first one that we ever did, and just fell in love with the medium. It was so great to be out there. To like, as soon as we worked in it, we were doing a 5-foot by 7-foot piece in front of a couple hundred people. So it was an experience, and we absolutely love it.
Yeah,
that's
it's just
awesome.
We got addicted to early on in life, and so like, not only that, but having our high school teacher be really encouraging us in that medium, but also like in Central Florida, there's a strong chalk art community, actually in Atlanta too, and California, kind of where it's like temperate all year, is where you're gonna chalk artists.
Understandable, yeah.
Yeah, and so like having that art community at a really early age really encouraged us, and they welcomed us. Like there's people all ages in that community, all backgrounds, and so like to bring all of those people together, it was something that we wanted to continue to be a part of.
Wow. That's definitely awesome. And honestly, with at what point did your career get to where, because if anybody knows the Chalk Twins, obviously they're performance artists, and they work around a bunch of people, to ridiculous crowds. So what point did it turn into you guys just I guess starting off your career as artists and then making it turn into a performance art? Like, what did it get to that point?
Well, like I said, having kind of had the performing background since high school really helped us, because I know like so many artists like would prefer to just be in their studio, like making their art and fiddling with it behind the scenes and then finally showcasing it. And you know, since we were teenagers, we've always just allowed people to see our process and see our mistakes and everything. So like that never was, you know, something that we struggled with. So, you know, we went to college, we both got our art degrees, and it was after that we, you know, we were deciding like what we wanted to do. We both knew that we wanted a career in art, but it wasn't until after college that we realized like, oh wow, like doing the chalk competitions and that community was actually a big part of our art journey, and we wanted to continue to be in it. So we tried to find a way to make that a career. so we made up a
pretty
job.
cool.
That would let us.
That's cool. But yeah, a question I have for you guys is as far as commissions are concerned, how long did it take those to get off the ground? Like, being someone that's trying to pursue art myself, how long did it take for you to actually start getting commissions?
I actually think our first commission might have been in like 2013 or something, like a year after our.
I mean, I got like little commissions here and there when I was in high school, and like looking back at my art back then, I was like, why did you people allow me to do that? We had a few here and there, but yeah,
outside of like family and friends, I think maybe around a year. But you know, just I think keep working on like us working on what we were doing, and also doing like the little commissions that we were doing for our family and friends allowed us to see our range, because I mean we like to do everything. So
well, also like just doing the art that interested us drew the people who liked our style to us, which I think was also important, because I mean we still get this today where like people will come up to us asking for commissions, and they're like, hey, I really like your art, but I actually want you to do spray paint and instead of chalk, and instead of you know, realism, I want you to do like completely abstract. And it's like, okay, well, you're just completely eliminating like all of what we do.
The point, yeah.
So like working up like a body of art that you're proud of, like people eventually came to us knowing like what we did, and then asking for commissions that we actually wanted to accept.
Right. No, that's cool.
But have you guys ever tried to at some point branch out to another medium other than chalk?
Yeah, I actually have my degree in graphic design, and Devon has hers in oil painting.
Yep, with an art history minor.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We do both paint. Actually, we painted our background.
Oh,
oh wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
nice.
That's really cool.
It's just, you know, that's not the medium that we tend to work in together
or live.
So because I mean, as anyone who's worked with paint knows, there's a dry time to that, and so it doesn't lend itself as much to working fast.
Gotcha.
Like with our style.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to kind of ask you guys is, because as a fellow artist, you know, when you guys start and like you get in that, you know, that flow that we get into when we start a project, like like it's almost like, do you guys just get into that flow and then it's just like boom, 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 and y'all just, it's almost like you're there but you're not there, and like how does that feel, and like what, like when you get that, does it just really pull the best out of you? Because I know for me, when I get in that flow, can't nobody like distract me or anything.
It's the best.
What's up?
And I think that's like a good thing about working together, is that we can like notice like, okay, she's in her space, and so like working live, like I need to be the one answering questions and interacting with people because she's so into it, and so she can do her thing, and then like if I get into that, like she does, works with the people, so that's really good. But it is such a good feeling, and yeah, to just like step back and be like, oh man, I did so
like
suddenly 10 hours have passed and I just know where that time in.
Right, like you guys divide the drawing in half, or you just kind of just go with the flow?
We go in knowing like, okay, I'm gonna do kind of this area and like these aspects of the piece. Like we do a lot of characters and stuff. So I do the face and the hair and that kind of thing, and she does like the clothes. And we try to split it up as evenly as possible.
Yeah, for like the Overwatch piece that we did recently, this was a little abnormal where we literally just kind of split the piece in half, where like Lexi, well, we should also say that Lexi is left-handed and I'm right-handed. Yeah.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, so it's really nice to like be able to split it in half and easily work on it like that. So I took the left-hand side and Lexi took the right-hand side, and so sometimes we split it up down the line like that, and then sometimes, like she said, well, I would say most of the time we split it up more like, she does all the faces, I do the background, so I don't know. We tend to go into it with a general knowledge of what we want to do. Like we'll talk about it a little bit beforehand.
And when we don't,
Yeah.
there's a few times where like we try to work from top to bottom or right to left or whatever, so that we don't have something in the middle at the very end. But we did that once, and we were like doing yoga, trying to like elevate ourselves.
We missed like one building in the background in the very middle of a piece of time. We're like, I think people are gonna notice that.
They were like, yeah, it's supposed to be that way. That's how we made it. That's what it looks like.
If you guys don't get it.
Right, you're not artists, so you don't know.
Artists. You're not in the craft.
But that's actually pretty funny, because that's one thing, just being I guess in school for art in general. One of my professors, she would always tell me, she's like, hey, even if something doesn't go right, don't admit to it. Just be like, hey,
you never admit to it.
Yeah, people are like, oh, you never make mistakes. And it's like, no, I don't tell you what my mistakes are.
Right.
Exactly. Because the piece I showed y'all before this, it was so many mistakes I made in there, but my professor was like, oh, you meant to do that? I was like, yes.
Yes, I did. Be like, it's called abstract, okay?
Exactly.
Oh man. But go ahead, guys. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask, like, are there any like out of all the art that you've done, are there any that you like really like to do, like the ones that you like favorited? Like out of all of them?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like each piece that we do, we kind of get emotionally invested in, but some definitely stand out more than others for like personal reasons, like one of the first pieces we did for Anime Expo was a Fate Zero piece, and
nice.
not only was that like a really great convention, but it was and still is one of our favorite anime. So so that kind of has a place in our heart. And I don't know, what about for you?
Yeah, as far as like convention pieces we've done, that we did a Studio Ghibli piece at Toricon in Rochester, New York, and that, again, one of our favorite, studios, and so that was really fun to do a tribute to that. But as far as other pieces, I think our series that we have going, our 2 series, are dear to our heart, which is why we've continued with them. So we have
and that's like more in studio pieces. We don't like create them live.
And they tend to be smaller, but 2 feet by 3 feet instead of 6 by 8. But yeah, so we have a Starship series that we've done. So taking different fandoms and putting them, taking the ships from them. And also our Still Life series. So taking like, Full Metal Alchemist. We haven't done that yet, but we want to.
That's our next on our list.
But yeah,
wait.
Look at Chad cheesing.
Right, he cheated real hard.
Yes. Can't wait. But yeah. Speaking of Still Life, because here, at the Square Round Table, like, we're really big on education, and a lot of the times, and we've talked about it with our own degrees and stuff like that, just different things you can do with your degrees, and just the importance of using them, just what you went to college for, and what you matriculated through school for and worked so hard for, just kind of on the other end of that, seeing the results of all the hard work that you put in. So yeah, I just wanted to know, like, as far as education and going through college, like, how has your training helped you both with, I guess, your art style and just the way you run your business as the Chalk Twins?
Yeah, I know a lot of people ask us, like, is it worth going to college? And we have so many great self-taught artists out there, so that's definitely a path that people can choose. But
it's just a lot harder.
It's just so much so much harder. In our opinion, I think going to college has really excelled, like, our art, and
well, for a couple of reasons too, because not only did having a college degree, like Lexi got her degree in graphic design and I got mine in oil painting, and so like and we both went to the same college, Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina, which is a small liberal arts school. So we had kind of an art education that focused on, like, being more broad, so focusing on one little, just purely animation or just graphic design. Like, the college we went to, where, like, you have to spread out and you have to take ceramics and you have to take philosophy and, all of that kind of thing. So it's nice having that general education that bolsters your knowledge of art and how you see the world, but also, like, also being actually formally taught the basics, which we were really lucky in middle and high school that we had really great art teachers, but that, I think, is becoming more and more rare. I know, like, our cousin, like, she is in high school right now, and her high school doesn't have any art program.
That's sad.
It is. And, so I think more and more, if you're interested in art, college is going to be, like, where you actually get any kind of formal education with that. So,
and I loved going and being there because we actually got an art community outside of our chalk community that we had started to build. So we were around peers that we could like, you know, bounce ideas off of, and our teachers were just constantly there. And that, I think that's also the difference is like I can watch YouTube videos, and I think those are so important and so great that so many people have educational videos out there and programs, but having a one-on-one and getting immediate feedback on your art, I think really helps. Yeah.
Can't beat it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could be a testament to that because I'm a self-taught artist, but I went to college and I started out as an art major. And even though I changed, I went over to film, I kept it as my minor when I got to Georgia State because I started at Georgia Perimeter, which was like a community 2-year college. So I ended up getting my associates in film, but I had did art before that. And like you guys said, it's so important because when you're self-taught, you can only learn so much on your own. And for me, it was like how I taught myself was cartoons. I would sit there and watch cartoons and, you know, go off of that. So I didn't know like the anatomy of like the human body and how to draw it in proportions. So everything I did was kind of animated. Then when I got to college, I was taking like drawing 1, 2D, and it was hard for me to adjust because in high school, I didn't have art professor or art teacher, or any kind of art lessons at all. So I had to kind of learn a whole new way to draw, but it was good because it helped me develop, like even with how I do my cartoons and stuff, it gave it more like, you know, anatomy, and they felt a little bit more realistic. And then like, you know, like I just showed you guys, I learned different mediums like watercolor, charcoal, pastels, a little bit of oil painting, acrylic, you know, and it's good that you get that. And even like you said, with like the philosophy, like history of art, and, you know, understanding like, you know, even though you have to go through a lot of slides of like very old art that they want you to memorize with names you just not gonna remember, but it's still good, you know, to go through that because once you leave, you have that knowledge. And like you said, that one-on-one where when y'all do a piece, the day after next class, you have a critique, so you can hear the feedback from your art, from your peers, and from your professor. So it's a real good thing. It's like a building block. It's like for your personality, your confidence, and, you know, just to, you know, advance your style and which way you want to go. And when I got out, like you guys, I still got a lot of people from the art community that I talk to and stuff, even though I'm more involved in film, like art is still my thing. And it's so cool how art and film come right together in so many ways. So I think I was very blessed and fortunate to have those two talents and do whatever I could do with them. So I definitely agree with y'all on that about college. It taught me everything I needed to know about art and really helped me find myself.
Yeah, and you know, I don't want to be like some kind of snob or anything and say like, oh, well, you can only go into art if you have a formal background. I just think that like if you don't, from my personal experience, I feel like you're you know, maybe 5 steps behind the person who has had an education. And so like it's definitely doable. It's just that you have to work so much harder to get where you want to be.
And it's already hard, even with going to school. So
and you bringing up like anatomy, I think that's a perfect example. I think everyone should know, everyone who wants to draw humans or animals, you know, anything with that kind of form, like you should know the basics of what you're drawing, and then you can break the rules, and then you can make them look wonky and weird and put your own style to them, but you need to know the rules to break them.
Seriously, because you don't even think about it, but I if I had to sit and draw a horse from memory, I couldn't do it right now. I just couldn't do it. It's tough. It's really tough. But but yeah, that's a big part of it that nobody really talks about, and that's just going to school or going to college in general. You get that community, you get the support system, and you do get that one-on-one interaction with your teachers, and then it helps you, especially because I didn't go to college for art, but just doing art critiques in high school, it kind of gives you that tough skin, especially to do what you guys do, because literally, you're creating art in a public space. And Marcus and Joshua, and I know you guys know how it is. Like, even when I'm drawing, I don't want anybody to see it until like I've finished it and gone over it another 10 times. And even then I'm like, no, it's ugly. Don't look at it.
There's definitely things to our art where we're like, okay, I have to go to the bathroom, but please don't think I'm done. I'm not done. I'm not done.
Yeah, there's this point where when Lexi's drawing faces where we call it a Cheeto face, where she just like puts down like an orange layer of just like a base layer, and and then she gets calling it done.
Right. You're like, this is it. This is what you get right here.
Yeah. But,
like,
sorry, to go back with what you're saying with an education, because you were also talking about like our business.
For sure.
And that is one of the things that I kind of regret, is not having taken more business classes.
That's the one thing that our school didn't do at all. For specifically our art, was offer the business side.
Yeah.
And that's something we had to learn all by ourselves, and we feel a little bit behind on.
Yeah. And there are some people that like, that we're friends with that just automatically know what to do. Like, it comes very intuitively to them, like how to run a business. But for us, it's been a lot of trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
And something that we're still learning today. So but yeah, we we just have to go on like our experience. But it would be nice to see art programs incorporate like business classes into the program, because it's nice to have like a to know a whole bunch of art history and like different techniques and stuff, and to like really feel confident about your own art. But no one told me when I graduated that basically to have a career in art is, unless you're like immediately joining a studio of some kind, to be a professional artist is to have your own business. And
self-market.
Promotions and just networking and all of those kind of things. I wish I had known more when I had graduated.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh. You want to say something?
Yeah. Another question I have for you guys regarding art and education. Have you guys ever thought about having a workshop for teaching your fans how to do some of your chalk art, like giving them pointers on how to maybe achieve realism and certain kinds of techniques you guys use?
We never started out thinking that we would be teachers, but we've actually gradually leaned that way. When we're at events, we do an hour or 45-minute sessions. And you can't really cover much in those sessions, but we teach like basics, and we know that people aren't getting art basics anymore. So that's what we try to do is give a little bit of like, okay, this is how you work with the medium, but also this thing that we're teaching, like how to draw space or whatever. As for like more in-depth things, we do have like our Patreon focuses on that. We have educational videos, and we've been, especially now with the pandemic, we have been wanting to do more classes and stuff online, but we haven't yet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually, like Lexi said, we teach a few sessions many times at conventions when we're given the space and the availability and stuff. But yeah, we've taught a few like kids camps before, like a weekend kind of, or weekend or week-long camps where we go through the basics of chalk art and you know, the basics of art as well. And we've taught some adult like groups as well, where it turns into more like a, I guess like a wine and chalk kind of thing, where it's
That's
more
pretty cool.
more
Yeah.
casual.
That's
And
cool.
the nice thing about chalk is that like you don't need any like special tools. Like all you need are your hands and the chalk. And so like that, what we like about that is that, you know, anyone can do it, whether you're, you know, 6 years old on the sidewalk or you're just like getting into it at age 40. Like it's really intuitive of a medium. So yeah, we want to lean into more teachings and tutorials and stuff like that.
That's cool.
That's awesome, and especially now, you know, I would love to see how, you know, you guys choose to occupy that space, because there's definitely a place for it, you know. So yeah, that'll be great going forward. I can't wait to see that. That'll be awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And another question, is there a special kind of chalk that really helps your art pop, or do you just use like regular dollar store chalk or something?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when people think of chalk, that is what they think of, is like the dollar store kind of chalk, but that's actually very doesn't have a lot of pigment to it. So what we have to use is called soft pastels. And so, you know, you have soft pastels and oil pastels, but we use the dry stuff, and that has so much pigment in it, and especially if you get the really good stuff. But so that's what gives us that pop of color.
Yeah, and like when we're working out on the sidewalk, you know, a lot of artists, including us, will lay down a layer of tempera paint, which is like the school paint that, you know, elementary school students use. So like that gives us like a base coat to work on top of, to like kind of let our colors pop more on the sidewalk.
Especially since the sidewalk eats it up. It just will soak it up. You need so much of it, but that just like layer of paint, you don't have to use as much.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like while we don't use the really cheap chalk, I don't feel like we use anything really special either. Like it's not like we're, you know, we buy like a 48 pack of colors, and
which is anything you can find in an art store, like Joanne, Michaels, even like have stuff like that.
Yeah,
like Prismacolor or something like that.
Yeah. We use COS and Art Alternatives.
Those are our main go-tos.
But there is a local maker in Tampa who makes pastels, and we get some of our sticks from him. And you know, sometimes we'll treat ourselves to like the super duper expensive sticks that come like individually instead of like in a pack. And so we kind of use anything. And like for really detailed work, when we're working really small, we use pastel pencils as well.
Yeah, I like those.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And just jumping off of because that was a really good question, Josh. Jumping off of that, just looking at you know, your work, there's like so much variety. Like goes from things like anime and, you know, realism. And I just wanted to know, like, specifically your self-portrait. And then I really love the picture you guys or the art you did for J. Michael Tatum, where he was surrounded by all of his characters that he voiced. Like, that was awesome. But to be able to get that type of realism, is there a specific like type of material you draw on, or is it a different type of technique you use from when you draw like anime characters? Like, how does that work? It seems like it'd be so difficult to get that level of realism.
For commissions and stuff like that, instead of like, you know, working on the concrete or on a like wood or something, we worked on something that was called a pastel board. That's specifically for soft mediums like pastel.
Or we'll work on canvas as well that has been treated for, that has like a pastel ground that kind of makes it grainier.
So it has that nice tooth to it. It has a lot of texture to hold it, but it itself doesn't have any, what's the word? Grain.
So yeah, specific grain. Yeah, like the wood. Yeah, like working on heavily textured surfaces can makes it a lot harder to get something realistic unless you're working on a super large scale where like the cracks and crevices don't really matter. But yeah, that's actually going off of that. Sometimes when we're working large and stuff, it's actually nice working on the concrete and stuff. I'm like, okay, I don't have to think about every little detail because you can't see it. The concrete will just, like, you know, blur it all together anyway. Right. But working on inside and working on canvas and pastel board, I have to put in all the details and make sure that everything is there. And I think that's the key to realism, is just noticing everything and putting it in there. Yeah, with anime characters and doing like more of an animated style, you know, the basics are still there, but they're a lot more simplified. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about like every single shadow and every single highlight, and you know, it's, I guess, maybe a little bit more forgiving. Yeah, we enjoy realism as well, and I think what comes with that is just like you said, like noticing all the details, and
while I, like, for characters, I might work with maybe 3 colors. For like an animated character, I will have 20 colors for a realistic face.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and if I'm like doing someone's hair, for example, like if it's an animated character, like, you know, basically a medium tone, a highlight, and a low light is good enough to get like a general feel for a texture hair or something. But yeah, for realistic hair, like I'll put in greens, I'll put in blues and purple. Oh, wow. And just to give like the depth of color that's actually in hair that you know, is kind of glossed over if you don't notice it.
It's the same with skin, like that, you know, she mentioned my Cheeto face before. Yeah. And that's what you know, I'll kind of leave it like that kind of just like peachy tones. But human face has blues in it, you know, has yellow and peaches, it has greens, it has reflective light and purples. It has all the different colors in it, in the highlights and the shadows. So working with the different, like, you know, just, okay, so this face is more yellow, this face is more blue, and just like those differences in skin tone will
make it look more realistic.
Yeah. It seems like y'all put a lot of work into it. I actually, unfortunately, I I haven't been able to see you guys in person. It's almost like, you know, like you guys are just like legends. Like every time I get to an event, I'm like, okay, so we're the Chalk Twins, and they're like, oh, you missed them already or
like,
whatever.
Seriously.
Every
I see
time.
the end product, but I'll be like, where are they? What happened?
It's so funny. I feel like we almost never take any breaks. And so for the few people like you that have said, but you're never there when I'm there, I'm like, what?
Never.
That was like a 30-minute lunch in a 10-hour session, and I guess you just have like really bad timing.
No, yeah, because by the time I get to the event and my shirt is sweaty and I'm panting and dying, you guys are already gone. So it's just like, but it's cool because we're talking to you now, so you made up for it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But no, I've watched videos of like Devon, like I've seen you like on the ground, just like using your hand and to, I guess, like shade and to blend the colors. That's gotta get like crazy after a while. I know your hand cramps up from doing that so much. It looks like a struggle.
It's mostly our backs that take the brunt force of like leaning over for so many hours.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, something that we have just picked up along the way is that we use gloves when we work.
Oh,
First
okay.
5 years of our career in chalk, we did not use gloves. And every time after a 3-day weekend, we came back bloody, blistered, and so then we need to heal. And we couldn't work every day.
Yeah, and because we're working in the medium every day now, it's just a requirement. You know, it's like a kind of, I don't know, like a safety thing.
Yeah, because anyone who's worked with the medium knows it's very dry, and so it dries out your hand. Mm-hmm. And the surfaces that we work on, that we prefer to work on, are more textured. So that constant rubbing in the dry medium just
Yeah. And I know like some people prefer to work like to blend with blending tools as well. Right. And we will do that for large areas. Like, if I'm filling out a single color in a background or something like that, I'll use like a carpet square. Like literally I just get a carpet,
cut it up into little squares and
just blend it.
That's pretty cool.
And some people use sponges and what else have I seen? Brushes, but we prefer to like actually like touch everything, just because we feel like we have more control over it. And so with that, it becomes like a process to, like you said, chalk can be really, really messy. And you just have to, like we tell all of our students too, like you have to kind of just embrace the mess a little bit.
Work in layers, don't build up too quickly.
Yeah.
Because then it gets away from you. It's happened to the best of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Like when you, like what we try to tell our students and stuff is that like, the surface can only take so much chalk. That's like one of the main differences with paint. You can build on layer and layer and layer, and you can get like a really good impasto kind of style. But for chalk, you can't really get that like heavy textured look. Because at some point when you put down a lot of chalk, it's just gonna fluff away. And then your colors start to get all muddy. So it's just like, that's one of the random things that you learn after using the medium for 16, 17 years.
Wow.
I can only imagine. I struggled with it for 2 semesters. I had to use it. So the fact that you guys kept going on with it for all these years is amazing. And I can understand like what y'all are saying about like using your hands to kind of do it, because it feels like you have more control over where you can, blend in your colors and stuff. because that's how I had to learn how to use it, because I'm so used to like, I'm the kind of artist that, you know, strays away from color because of that fact of like blending and the layers, and it's like you said, so many different blues and stuff. So I always was like black and white. So when I had to use pastels, I had to, like, my professor was like, you know, if you just take your hand and kind of, you know, do like this, you'll get a nice little line. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, so if I go that way, then it'll flow this way. So, you know, definitely with your hand. And I do that when I use charcoal too. And I even did it on some of my watercolor stuff. Like I would take my hand, dip it in the paint, and just kind of make a line, because, you know, your hands are the best tools, you know, because you can just be so free with them.
Yeah, it's become, because we have worked so long in the medium, it's become very intuitive to us, just like really anything for, you know, whether you're a sculptor or, you know, an oil painter or what have you, like if you work in something long enough, it just becomes really intuitive. But when we were first getting started, what we would do to, like, you know, because we were afraid of like color as well, like we didn't know what we were doing. And so what we would do is, you know, we would find a color, like in a piece that we were going to recreate, like a work from an old master or whatever, you know, we would sit down with the picture and we would say, okay, this color right here looks like it might be really hard to make. So I'm going to go with my box of chalk, and I am going to just like make little swatches of color until I get it right.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And
because oh, go ahead, Josh.
Have you guys ever dealt with art block? Any?
Definitely.
Recently. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like when we're working live, that doesn't seem, it's not something we've really dealt with, just because, like, you know, when we create a piece live, we've actually worked out all of the things that could be blocking us, you know, like I've already done the design beforehand, and that is really where I get my art block the worst, is
the design
is
process.
creating designs and compositions and stuff like that. And so yeah, sometimes, like, you know, I was working on a commission actually just this week, and as I was drawing, like I thought, like, oh man, this could take me a while. And sometimes, like, initial drawings will take me somewhere between a week to up to a month, you know, to get where I want it to be, before actually creating the art. And you know, luckily I had like a burst of inspiration. I was able to create it in like 2 days. But yeah, sometimes it can be really hard, and then you get into your own mind of like, okay, like this is really hard, I don't want to work on it, I'll work on something else. And like then you just think, this is really hard, and you don't want to go back to it, and that can be really frustrating. And it's just something, as a professional, like I don't have the luxury of like just putting something aside. Like I have to work through it a lot of times, unless it's, you know, my own personal art. So
right, yeah.
There's actually a couple of things sitting in our studio that have been left unfinished because I haven't found the inspiration to like do it, or to like know which direction I'm going to take a certain area. So I'm like, okay, well, and I know that it's a thing that a lot of people do, a lot of artists have, just like built up semi-finished works, and usually that, like she said, is not a problem for us. So to have those couple pieces where I'm like, I don't know, it's a feeling. Yeah. Actually, there was a commission that we just did, and it had a lot of foliage in the background, and that's one thing neither of us really enjoy doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was one section that I had left that, like, I just kept looking at. I'm like, it looks so complicated. It looks so complicated. I can't see it. Like, and so
Yeah.
honestly, I went live for that section, and it kind of forced me to like
Work it
just
out.
do it.
Right.
Yeah. Which is fun.
No, but
Like going back to like what you said, like, you know, a lot of times like artists will just kind of like hole away, and you know they don't want to show it until it's done. But I feel like you just kind of described like a comedy art, like a stand-up comedian a little bit. Like, I don't know how this joke is gonna come together, so I'm just gonna go out in a stand-up and test it down on a group.
basically, like, I couldn't imagine like getting, oh my God, being stuck on having to perform live and then having just a part of your artwork that you just don't want to do. It's just like, okay.
It's just like
and then having them
will force you to come up with a solution. I feel like having eyes right behind you even also forces you to make, just go ahead and make a decision on something.
Okay.
Yeah, even if you're speaking it inside, like.
Right. You just got to make it look like I'm enjoying this. This is fun.
But there's definitely been times where, because the medium and like working live, like there are sections of pieces that we haven't fully, like, I don't know, the background could be this or that, and I don't know. And there have been a few times that we've done something and we're like, oh, man, if we had time, I would actually have changed that color or gone in a different direction, but we just didn't have time to fix it.
Yeah. And working live, like, yeah, it forces you to make those decisions, and sometimes like it's a good thing, and sometimes like you do regret, like, you know, like, oh, I wish I had more time to work on it, but also like I have to call it done at some point. Like, I can't just keep working on it for 2 weeks, you know? Yeah.
Right.
Definitely. But go ahead, Chad.
Oh, no. I was just gonna say, but I was gonna go off of the point that Lexi and Devon were just making. But yeah, that's the beautiful thing about, you know, just having, like, you knowing what your art is supposed to be, and just having somebody, you know, look at it from their perspective. Because regardless of, you know, how you feel about it at the end of the day, like, you know, we were just talking about you guys' artwork earlier. All of it is beautiful. You know, it's just all like amazing, you know, for me, just looking at it and not knowing, you know, the hard work that you put into it, just seeing it aesthetically, it's just like, geez, this is amazing, you know. And you might be thinking, well, you know, if this was like that, and, you know, if the foliage wasn't like that, but the viewer isn't thinking of it from that point of view. You know, we just think it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I feel like that's the same with a lot of other art as well. Like, you know, you don't see like people's thought processes, you just see the end result a lot of times. And yeah, I think it all works out in the end.
No, definitely. Joshua, you were about to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how long, well, do you guys remember your longest drawing? Like, how long it took to finish it?
I mean, for conventions, like, we usually only have the set amount of time that a convention is running. And so, like, the most we have is, like, 40 hours.
That being said, I mean, sometimes we work ahead of time because we know we have, you know, only this amount of time, but the piece is going to take like this amount of time.
Right.
But yeah, so I think the longest event had been like 4 days.
Yeah, but I mean, that's for working live, and for our, like, for working in the studio, when we actually give ourselves the time that we want to put into a project, that can take, you know, like one of our spaceships or one of our still lifes that we've worked on recently took 100 hours.
Wow.
Somewhere in there.
Wow.
And yeah, and I could tell, I've looked at some of those, and it's like, it's amazing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, jeez.
Yeah.
One of them I was looking at, it kind of reminded me of like Mr. Blue Skies, the the spaceship from there. Like just not the actual spaceship, but like how y'all did the blue and the like the stars in space and stuff, and it gave me like a Mr. Blue Sky, and I was like humming the song in my head while I was looking at the art, and that's what I love about art. Like you can connect something to it and have like a whole story just from that one still image. So that's what I love about it, and I definitely love that about y'all art.
That's what I like about it too, is like, you know, we as artists could go in with an idea or, you know, something that we want to convey to the viewer, but then the viewer is going to come in with their own experiences and put some more meaning into it that's more personal to them. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Like,
that's awesome.
That's the best thing, is when people can connect to it in a way that you never expected they would.
Actually, the piece that you have, Chad, we actually had someone cry at our booth once.
Oh, wow.
It reminded them of a past, a sibling that had passed. And so that connection to the show and like the emotion in our piece, they just like started crying. It was like, yeah.
Well,
that's beautiful.
That is beautiful to have somebody just connect to your art that way, and then going into it, you know, that I know that probably wasn't, you know, the intention, but just for it to come across like that, I know that's got to just like make your heart swell up, you know.
Definitely.
So and just going off of that, because I know we were talking about earlier how you wish, you know, in college you sort of had that business aspect, right? But from my point of view, you know, and I know this is just from an outsider looking in, but, you know, you guys seem to be, you know, the quintessential example for, you know, knowing your target audience, really. Because, I mean, like I said, for me, you guys were, you know, legends. Like, so I just really wanted to know around that convention circuit, like, how did you get into that? And also, because we're all big nerds here, I just wanted to know, like, specifically, what are some of your, like favorite things about like geek culture? Like, what do you like as far as anime, superheroes, like all that kind of stuff?
So the way we got into conventions is a funny story. It wasn't until after college that we started even watching anime. We had, I mean, maybe seen a few Studio Ghibli movies and Pokemon and stuff like that, but we weren't really like familiar with like other things. And Devon was taking a main master, and so I was at home alone, and I was like, okay, I've heard of shows, I'm gonna watch some shows. And, and the first one that I watched and really got into was Bleach. And
Hey,
nice.
I love that show.
Because that came home, I'm like, watch this with me.
You don't have a choice. Sit down.
Right.
We're in it for the long haul. So yeah, that, you know, our anime bug started, and our first convention that we had ever gone to was actually for Harry Potter specifically, and then so MegaCon in Orlando, so like a multi-canon convention.
Mm-hmm.
But we still weren't that familiar with conventions and how they worked. And a local con was advertised, like I saw on Facebook an advertisement, hey, Artist Alley people needed. And I was like,
we're artists.
And we like anime and stuff. Let's do this. I don't know what we're doing, but let's do it. And so we literally said, get rid of our table. We're working on the floor. And they're like, I don't understand, but okay.
Yeah, they were nice enough to like just go with us on the crazy idea we had of just like creating art like on the floor, like live. And someone saw us, another head of a convention saw us there working and invited us to come to their convention as well. And so then like literally suddenly we were invited to Dragon Con and
Anime Expo,
yeah. And it kind of just like snowballed from there. So we got really lucky, but like you said, like, you know, Chad, like, no, like we have a very specific niche, and I think like we have definitely dug into that, you know, like we asked ourselves, okay, what do we enjoy doing? What do we feel the most confident doing? And then we kind of like went from there. And what, yes, like we like anime and animation and gaming and TV and all that pop culture stuff. So that's the focus we decided to go on.
Because actually for a while, before we really started doing like the convention stuff, we were doing kind of like what I would call card conventions. And so like people just like really...
and that was so random. Like we know nothing about cards.
But you can draw them though. So.
That's all that matters.
Things, and that is one of them.
Yeah.
And so that's something
people
that
are just as geeky about cars as they are about like anything else.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my dad. I know.
Definitely.
So.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fandoms and stuff. Like I said, you know, we didn't grow up with the anime, but we absolutely love it once we found it. And
we grew up on like Star Trek and like
Lord
watching that
Nice.
with your
Lord
Yes.
I can't do that, but got it.
she and I can't.
Right. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were more in like the fantasy and sci-fi genres. Like that's where we really liked and grew up in. And then yeah, we got into anime, I think actually fairly late for most anime fans. So yeah, we kind of like all geekdoms, and we're still excited to like explore more. Like I feel like we have a lot of catching up to do kind of everywhere. So that's both like overwhelming and exciting at the same time.
That was getting into it late. That was one thing we definitely wanted to do. Like I went with something as my first anime that was still like in the zeitgeist. But then my next one was Cowboy Bebop, which was much older. And
Right.
Yeah.
Classic.
Back and forth, like, you know, Blue Exorcist, and then
Nice. Yeah.
Another one.
you know,
Yeah.
something else like really old. And so yeah, and that's still kind of our what we like to do is we want to catch up on the stuff that we missed out on that people rave about, but also keep up with like what people are talking about now.
Hey, but what's your guys' favorite anime aesthetically? Like as far as like the style that it's made in, its presentation.
I think, well, there's a couple different answers. One that we have already mentioned, Fate Zero. I think that was one of the first ones that we saw that was just like, everything about this is so gorgeous. It's just the music, even in everything together is just
it had like a cinematic feel to it.
Yeah.
But, another completely different style that I don't think people talk about enough is like Mushishi. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but to me it felt like everything about that show felt like a bedtime story. There was like music in the background. It has a little bit of like no, I wouldn't say horror, but like mystery and like suspense to it, but most of the time it's just like super chill, and it has like that watercolor feel to all of the animation. It's just,
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, definitely.
And then like really experimental stuff too, like Gankutsuko, the Count of Monte Cristo. Like they had like a kind of paper, like cut paper effect on their animation, and that was like super duper cool. So like I really like when studios like experiment with style.
I was gonna ask too, like since you guys said like y'all upbringing in like science fiction and sci-fi. Like, I wonder if like are y'all fans of like things like Guardians of the Galaxy and Stranger Things, because they heavily like rely on that like old like throwback sci-fi. Because like with Guardians of the Galaxy, to me, it feels like it's like Star Trek, Star Wars, you know, any kind of sci-fi, Flash Gordon, like all of that in like a modern version. And then with Stranger Things, it's just totally like dependent on like the whole nostalgia. So like,
D&D
of those
like,
kind of mediums.
Yeah, no, we definitely are fans of those, and it's so funny, like stuff like Stranger Things, where like they kind of build a nostalgia that you don't even have. I don't know, it's so weird, but they managed to do it really well.
It really is.
I don't know how they kill it every time.
Yeah.
Right. I miss an era I wasn't even a part of. It's just
right.
Right.
Wasn't even part of the era.
Right. Like, yeah, I remember when the first Star Wars came out. I remember that.
I definitely remember. I was there.
I was there.
I got tickets, you know, or you know when they had like old video games, and I'm like, I played those, right? I was there. I played that. I didn't play that game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, I forget, there was something recently that I watched that I was like, man, I'm having nostalgia for something that I wasn't part of. And gosh, I forget, it might have been something like Stranger Things.
They did that in the new It movies, the Stephen King It movies.
Yes. Yeah, I just watched that recently. Yeah. That might have been it.
Yeah, they played on that old, like, it was kind of the same thing. Honestly, I could say that like Stranger Things and Stephen King's It, he really like leaned into that sort of era, like that Star Wars, you know, there was a lot of old arcade games. It was like that whole thing. Like he leaned into it heavy.
Yeah. And I really like being sucked into the nostalgia sometimes.
Oh, yes, definitely. Same here, completely. Like I'm a big fan, like I said, of an era that I'm not even a part of. Like it makes me wish I was around, and it's like, man, that's kind of cool. But
I think that, I mean, props to them and their storytelling to be able to pull that off, and like, yeah, to make you feel that, like to be a part of it and immerse yourself into it.
Definitely. And one thing, I guess sort of old school kind of like cult classic that's my favorite out of everything. I wanted to ask if you guys tackled it at all. The Twilight Zone. Have you guys done any Twilight Zone themed pieces?
We have not. We have not done anything like in that kind of genre. But I mean, we actually did grow up, you know, watching Twilight Zone and all that, so we love it. We just
That's awesome.
For that specifically.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. That's like one of my that's pretty much like my favorite show of all time. I guess if I had to choose between like Star Trek or like anything like that, that's mine 100%. So
yeah.
I totally agree. Like that, it's so cool how, like, you know, each story is so interesting, and yet it's a cohesive show. And
it was definitely ahead of its time for sure.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just gonna say that it was way ahead way ahead.
Yeah. And to go back to a show, I mean, that's what I like about like Star Trek and stuff like that, like Twilight Zone, where you can watch something that, you know, is from so long ago, you know, 50 plus years ago, and you can still find a lot of enjoyment out of it, and you can even find like life lessons out of it. Like that is just super cool.
Right. Just stuff that and I think that's interesting too, stuff that was aired so long ago, but a lot of the messages that come through are still relevant today. Like that's one thing that I really like about it.
Yeah, I think that's how you know that a show is evergreen, is like if you can rewatch it and you get something different out of it every single time. Like from, you know, current events or whatever that's going on, or like something that happened to you personally that you didn't see it the first time going around. So yeah, that's how I know that like the shows that I have that are my favorite shows are there for a reason, because like every time I watch them, I get something new out of it.
Exactly. And I think also, at least from my perspective, I can't speak on everyone, but obviously you guys are, you know, super duper popular. You're, you know, in the art world, you're definitely rock stars. And I think a part of that is just the fact that, of course, you guys are wonderful artists and your work is amazing, but just the content that you have, it really puts people in a good place and reminds them of parts of themselves that they love, and really makes everybody feel like a child again. At least that's what I get from when I look at you guys' artwork. Like it's amazing stuff, guys.
Well, thank you so much.
So much.
Yeah, we
Of
kind of
course.
do that with our art. Like, you know, we want people to feel something, and you know, the shows that and movies and books and stuff that we draw from, you know, we're really passionate about. And so if we make other people feel the same passion that we have, then I think we've done it.
And that's one of the things that we've done since the beginning is we for better or worse only like draw from the things that we've seen and read and played, and unless commissioned otherwise, but
and from real life too, like
everything that we do. And I think it helps, like us knowing something and loving something, I think it helps show that passion to other fans of that theme.
No, that's true. Yeah. Oh, were you about to say, Joshua?
Oh, yeah. Have you guys ever done any fan art of any classical paintings like the Mona Lisa? And,
I feel like that's kind of like where we've gotten our start, is like doing recreations of masters. And not only did that help us like with our style, like finding what we like to create, but also like knowing like what the masters did, and like
seeing what colors they chose and how they kind of did their style.
Yeah, but also like some of our art we've drawn from like you know, ukiyo-e, you know, like those kind of old Japanese posters and stuff like that. Like a lot of like my compositions and stuff, like when I make them, I'll just like go into my art history books and I'll just like kind of fill my brain up with like my favorite still lifes in this book, or like, you know, my favorite portraits and stuff like that. And so I'll have all of that in there, and then I'll, you know, create something. So yeah, that's kind of my creative process.
Well, that's cool. Well, yeah, guys, as you know, accomplished artists, I just would like to know, sort of as the like just wrapping up, what advice would you have for the fresh, you know, brand new, green, out of the box, you know, I want art to be my career, that person? Like, what would you, as somebody that's gone and matriculated through the art world and kind of found your voice, what would you say to somebody that hasn't found that for themselves yet?
Well, I think for like an actual like art style, like I don't think I would focus on that so much. You know, like that's gonna come with just practice. You know, you're gonna find like, you know, after practicing and practicing and practicing, you're gonna find like brush strokes that just come naturally to you, which is gonna lead to your own personal style. So like, you know, I wouldn't overthink that. Personally, like that'll just come naturally over time. But yeah, like don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Like that's kind of what we've learned, is like the bigger risks that we've taken, you know, we as professionals, like we still face like a lot of rejection and you know, for every project bid that we actually get, we've been, you know, said no, you know, we've been declined, you know, 50 times, you know. So it takes a little bit of a tough skin to do it, but you can't take it personally, and you have to just keep going forward, and you'll get where you want to get to. What about you? Do you have anything?
Yeah, like keep trying every, you know, different mediums, and taking all of the different people that you love, like just immerse yourself in art and different art styles and mediums. And I think that it helps. Like, you know, I'm not a ceramicist, but if I look at it and I learn from them, or if I, you know, dabble in it, then that'll help in my own art, even though that's not what I actually want to do.
Yeah, it'll help you learn form and shape better. So like everything's kind of tied together, and yeah, just experimenting with everything that you find interesting, I think can only help.
Well, that's definitely. Oh, go ahead, Joshua.
Oh, have you guys ever thought of making an art book, like a book of like an amalgamation of every big piece you've done?
We definitely have.
We have,
we have definitely thought about it. We just haven't done it yet. I don't really know what's holding us back. But yeah, we have definitely thought about it. Because I know I personally really like buying art books from people.
Yeah, that's actually one of our favorite things to do is like, we have so many art books from other artists, professional or just like in the convention circuit that might not be professional, and like books from like showing the backhand process between like of an animated show or movie, and all of that is just so fascinating to us, like seeing all that.
Yeah.
So I know people will probably hopefully want to see something that we would produce like that, but
yeah.
You got me and Chad's pre-order.
Right. Look, I'm ready for you to drop it right now. So
yeah.
Let's see, guys.
But no, yeah, because I'm huge on that. I just I recently bought a sketchbook from one of my favorite comic book artists, Alex Ross. I just bought that. I wanted to know, do you guys like together? Do you share a favorite artist, or do you guys separately have like a person that you look at as somebody you look up to in the art community?
I mean, I feel like having a background like in art history, I pull from, I get inspiration from like Caravaggio and like I said, like the ukiyo-e prints and you know, like a whole bunch of Renaissance figures and stuff like that. So like
Gerhard Richter,
I love
Jasper Johns.
Okay, yeah.
And so yeah, like my art inspiration is kind of like from all over, and it's like even contemporaries, like you said, like Alex Ross is great, and you know, I have to say, like even like some of our friends are like super inspiring. You know, like
That's cool.
Seeing the work that they're able to do, and you know, like if someone has like a little idea, you know, like going to a chalk festival and like seeing like the line work that they did, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that. And so I try to get inspiration like everywhere. I try to be open-minded that way.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many different styles out there, and just like enjoying it all, and then experimenting on our own and seeing like what works for us.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's awesome, guys. And, you know, it's been such a pleasure having you on
It's
today.
been
Definitely.
great here. Thank you so
Definitely.
much for having us.
Oh, no problem, man. Anytime you're welcome to come back on. You know, we've really enjoyed ourselves. It's been a big treat, like definitely.
Yeah.
And before we go, is there anything? Well, definitely, you know, tell everybody your social media, and if you have anything coming up, like, you know, let the people know out there.
Yeah. You can find us like everywhere at Chalk Twins. Our website, chalktwins.com, all of our social media, like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook,
all of that. Recently got a TikTok, all of that. And we're also on
Nice.
so you can support us there.
and Etsy.
And Etsy. Yeah, we actually do have, you know, all of our prints and stuff available on our store, on our website, and also on Etsy. So
Yeah,
either place.
Yeah, as far as like upcoming things, you know, a lot of rescheduling is going on right now. So I don't know if we have like any concrete things besides like we're going to be guests at the University of Arkansas in September, doing some live art there. And
we are working actually with a musician to compose a video. And so hopefully that'll
we're
come
doing
out
a
soon.
collab there where we're going to be creating some original art, and she's going to be creating some original music and bringing those two together. So that should be exciting too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, can't wait for that. That's going to be amazing. But yeah, once again, thank you guys for coming out, and now it's time for my promotion. Yes, guys. Yeah, everybody out there, you can check out the Square Roundtable podcast on power214.com every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, and 1 p.m. Well, the 12 p.m. Central Time and 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And yeah, you can also catch us on YouTube under the same name, The Square Round Table. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. My name is Chad Singleton. I am your host. Once again, everybody, please introduce yourselves one more time.
B.
Joshua Singleton.
Marcus.
And we're the Chalk Twins.
Awesome. And this has been the Square Round Table. Peace.
Be out.